Welcome into Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho.
And this is Jacob Waters.
And guys, we have a great show for you guys today. We are going to break down all of the news that happened right before the tag deadline, the franchise tag deadline.
A lot went down.
Yeah, a lot went down. A lot of signings, a lot of different stuff that's happened over the last week. We're gonna break it all down for you guys today, and we're also gonna go and talk about a fantasy player of the week. So what we want to do is we're gonna start doing every single week a fantasy football profile. And then we're gonna end the show with a top 5. And guys, if you want to go to a specific part of the show, you can go in the description right now. There are timestamps, so if you're just interested in one specific part of the show, you can go
check it out.
Yeah, go skip to that. You don't have to watch every single bit of us rambling to hear what you want to hear. But yeah, we'll get started.
And while we're clearing stuff up too, we still have the Saquon Barkley jersey behind us. We are still running this contest for 3 more weeks, I believe.
I believe so, yeah.
And here's how you enter. You got to go on any of our YouTube videos, because you can enter multiple times here. Yep. Or you can find us on Apple Podcasts. So look up Between the Pylons, Apple Podcast, or on YouTube. We need you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then if Apple Podcasts, leave a rating, please, 5 stars. We hope you enjoy it. We hope that's why you're here. And then put in the comments that you're here for the jersey. And then we will see it, enter your name, and however many times you do that on our videos, on the pod,
yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, you can get entered multiple times. So you can do that on Apple Podcasts. You can go on the
jersey.
Yeah. So every single podcast that we have on the YouTube channel that we're putting this up, you can comment on it multiple times as long as you're subscribed.
Yep. And then there's one on the pod, Apple Podcast. So you do 2 times a week till we finish
so
this
you
thing.
can enter a maximum of 5 times when it's all said and done. So do that, get entered, and we're gonna give that away, send it to you for free and all that. So that's gonna be good. Guys, let's get into the show. All right. So first thing we got to talk about, we're based in Tennessee, so we have to start off with Derrick Henry. Signs a 4-year extension today. The day we were recording this happened just a couple hours ago, right?
Yeah, it was pretty big.
Yeah. So I mean, what's your raw reaction off the top of your boat?
Tennessee Titans, whoever handled that contract, John Robinson, I guess is who it would be. You killed it. You absolutely hit a home run here. You were able to get Derrick Henry, who I believe is a top 5 running back. When you look at the Tennessee Titans and how they value him with their franchise, he doesn't have a value. They built their whole team around a running back, and we don't see that a lot of times. Yeah. And the fact that they were able to get him for $25 million guaranteed, $50 million total, that's what we said we wanted. We wanted a good deal for him, give him the incentives, and if he continues this pace, he does deserve it.
He deserves it.
I think he also recognizes that next year's free agent class, though, is ridiculous. Yeah. Get your payday while you can.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And this is one of those things. I mean, it's kind of rare you see a signing right on the trade deadline or the tag deadline, but he got that done. Basically, what is it? Double, maybe even triple the franchise tag total I think that he was getting. So that's awesome. And guys, you got to remember this is a dude who ran for 1,500 yards, 1,540 yards, I believe.
Historic season.
16 touchdowns. That was just on the ground. He put up a couple of 100 yards through the air as well. And then he had the historic postseason dominance where he put up, I believe, 430 yards in the postseason along with 3 touchdowns and propelled the Titans to the AFC Championship. I mean, look, this is Derrick Henry's team. Like, Tannehill got the money, because he gets the quarterback money. But I mean, this is Derrick Henry that was running the offense, and this is a great team around him. I think it's a good situation for Derrick Henry. It's a good situation for the Titans, and I'm excited. I love seeing running backs get paid. They deserve it.
That's why I'm glad John Robinson was able to keep the guys together, because this was a team that really built on that momentum last year. And if it wasn't for that, I'm going to say it, tick off a lot of people, but for the Marcus Mariota start for the first 6 games of the year, where they were 2-4. Ever since Tannehill took over after that, the team was clicking. The play-action passing game, clicking down the field. A.J. Brown is emerging as a future superstar. Yep. We get to see Corey Davis. Now he gets to move down to the wide receiver 2.
He's in the role he deserves to be.
Exactly.
Or in the right role for him.
And he's on a contract year, so maybe you get the best version of what he could be.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's see it, Tennessee. I'm ready to see him run.
I'm excited. I love hearing your energy, your passion to see what the Titans are going to do. They're a really good football team all the way around. And signing Derrick Henry, getting this money. So this is where we have to have the unfortunate conversation where it's like, is Derrick Henry going to be Derrick Henry for the next 4 years?
I'm going to say yes.
Think so?
See, for me, I'm blinded now by the good value of this contract.
Yeah.
Because no matter what, I see this as a total win for them. I really do. Next year, Aaron Jones, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, and there's another big name coming out in free agency. These guys are going to want those big dollar deals. They're probably going to get them. They're probably going to pass Derrick Henry on this. But at the end of the day, 4 years for the Titans to build your team around the guy that you're building your team around for that money, it's a steal.
Yeah.
Maybe he keeps it going for 2-3 years. Maybe the last year, it's kind of not the same. I don't know. It just depends. You have your window. You threw it open, and you're holding it open as long as Derrick Henry's on the team. I love it.
Yeah, and the thing about Derrick Henry is, if you do lose the speed, right? Like the speed, because people forget he has legit speed and legit size. That's what makes Derrick Henry Derrick Henry. If you do lose the speed 3 years down the line, well, he's still going to be really fucking big. Like you're not going to completely lose the value of Derrick Henry 4 years from now. Even if he loses a little bit of his burst. And I
think he's 25, 26.
Yeah,
so that doesn't mean that you lose it.
That's kind of where I was going. He's in the prime of his career. He can continue into the prime of his career, but based on just the way he's built, I mean, he's going to have a little bit longer of a lifespan than I think some other running backs would. And then the other thing is, I mean, this is a dude who I mean, it's popularized how serious he takes his health. I mean, this is a guy who's very serious about it. I mean, I don't think he doesn't drink beer, doesn't eat wings, anything like that. Like he's straight laced and ready to go when it comes to stuff like that. And you have to be excited about that. And with Derrick, I mean, I'm just excited for him.
He wanted to be in Tennessee because there's a lot of running backs sometimes who, they kind of throw a fit about being possibly playing for the franchise tag of $10.5 million, especially when Derrick Henry knows his value to this team.
Of course.
But he was willing to sit down, make it work. And if you look at the rest of the division, Jaguars, I would say dumpster fire. They're starting to build in the right direction, kind of. We'll see. I think the Texans dismantled the core of their team, and they're starting to go through this weird upheaval process of having a good quarterback but not having pieces around him. Colts kind of built up weird. Titans have every single spot wrapped up that you want. Yeah. They can start to take this thing.
So I do want to ask you something. This is totally off topic and just kind of, I mean, we do Vera every once in a while on this podcast. I have been slowly coming around to the Colts being the division winner. I've slowly been coming around. Look, I know because I look throughout the offseason, you've given me a lot of shit for hating on Rivers. Man, I look at the Colts and I like their defense a lot. I mean, I know you like them as well as the way they've built their team on and their levels, and we've talked about that a lot on the podcast. I look at the running game. They got Jonathan Taylor. I think he's going to end up being the number one by the end of the season.
Well, they have a great offensive line.
Yeah, then Marlon Mack will be the number two. That's going to be a great run game. It's going to complement Phillip Rivers in the right way. They have some pieces in the receiving game for Phillip Rivers as well. I'm looking at that team. I think they're kind of like a dark horse team to win the division and kind of surprise a lot of people this year. Am I crazy?
Oh, I wouldn't say dark horse at all.
You don't think so?
I think a lot of people have them at 9-10 wins.
Okay.
I think it's between the Titans and Colts, and we'll get to see kind of who, can duel it out right there. And if Phillip Rivers, I'm the one who said it, he gets to play indoors. He gets to play with a good O-line.
You did. You 100%
everything that he never had in San Diego.
Yeah.
And now he gets fans to root for him, too.
Maybe. Well, maybe not.
No, Indy's got some good fans. San Diego, that's why you lost your team.
Fans might not be there this year is what I'm saying.
Oh,
yeah. But he's used to that. He's used to having no fans. That's going to be better for him.
Yeah, he's good with that. No noise.
That's another random take. Is like, are the Chargers going to be the best situation because they're used to playing with no fans anyway?
Yes.
And now like a neutral stadium is perfect for them.
Oh, some Chargers fans going to hear this.
I mean, come on. That's fair. That's funny. All right, so we'll move on. Let's talk about a different team in the same division, the Jaguars. Yannick Ngakoue does not want to be there. You're talking about how Derrick Henry wants to be in Tennessee. Yannick Ngakoue does not want to be in Jacksonville. And you know what? It's unfortunate because Yannick Ngakoue, he's quietly one of the best defensive ends in the league. I've said that many times on this podcast, and I stand by it. Jags are unwilling to trade him. There have been multiple reports that he was offered a Pro Bowl player. Came out this morning, I believe. Did you see that?
No.
That a Pro Bowl player was offered to the Jaguars, but they said it didn't fit their system, so that trade didn't work out. So he was franchise tagged for $17.8 million. Yannick Ngakoue has stood by the fact that he will not play for the Jaguars this year. Now, maybe that changed. That's a report that was kind of older, so maybe things change. $17 million versus $0 million is a big difference. So maybe he'll come around on that one.
$0 million.
Yeah, so do I. I'll play for anybody for 17. I don't think anybody's asking us though. So where do you stand on this?
I feel bad for Jacksonville. I've said it and I stand by it. I feel bad. You can't blame them for not wanting to trade him. They constantly scout, constantly find, and constantly hit great draft picks who just don't want to be there. So, yes, you need to better yourself as a management and make sure that you are attending to your players and your stars and make sure they're happy. But, man, how much is too much? I mean, like, they're going to lose Yannick for a first-round pick at best. I would say at best, because it's hard for me as another team looking at how good Yannick is. Yes, you still got to pay him, and you're going to have to give up a first when you know he doesn't want to be there. So, Jacksonville doesn't have leverage.
I 100% agree with that, and that's my whole thing on why the Jags probably should never get a first-round pick. But the Jaguars are standing strong that they're not going to trade this guy. We don't know what they've been offered. That's a big part of this conversation. So I could be pretty far off on this.
I think it's a smokescreen, but no trade thing.
You think the Jags are willing to trade him? They're just waiting for the right price?
Well, yeah, I don't think you're going to let a guy know that he's garbage and then try to ask a team, like, Yannick, we don't want you. We are trying to find a trade. Then you're going to get a bunch of lowball offers. If you're trying to tell other teams that you want him and you want him to be a piece of your team, it's just the thing with Jalen Ramsey. You did the same thing to him. I was astonished that the Rams gave up 2 first-round picks for him.
Yeah, no, and I was too. I truly do believe that the Jags don't want to trade Yannick Ngakoue. I believe the Jags want to keep Yannick Ngakoue long term, and I don't think it's going to work out for them. I think the only chance the Jags would have had to have done that is to just completely clean house from a coaching staff standpoint and just get change the GM, change the coaching staff.
We don't know what the problem is, right?
Yeah, we don't. We absolutely don't. My theory is, and this is 100% just my theory. I thank you for bringing for making sure I'm saying that. My theory is that he has a problem with the either the coaching staff or the front office in some way. Get rid of all of them, bring in new people, and maybe he wants to stay. I think that's the only way the owner would have been able to keep him to stay. Yannick Ngakoue is not going to stay with the Jags, in my opinion. So the Jags have to get some kind of value for him. The Jags are not a team that's going to be, a playoff caliber team this year. I don't think anybody thinks that. I can imagine the Jags are looking at their roster and saying, "Yeah, we can." I mean, shit, I don't think they can compete with their own division.
Succeed right now. No, that's why I said, in all honesty, there's a few pieces that are like, it's promising, but all in all, they got to get something for him. But it hurts your value so much when the player comes out publicly and says, "Get rid of me."
I couldn't agree more. But we did see Jalen Ramsey get 2 first-round picks, or they got 2 first-round picks for Jalen Ramsey.
Jamal soon get that for the Jets.
A similar
but
thing.
It's just see these guys say they want gone.
I agree. Is there a team that you think of off the top of your head? And I know we didn't prep this question. I just thought of this. Is there a team that you look at that is one defensive end away from being a powerhouse Super Bowl caliber team that would be willing to put the chips in the middle and say, "Fuck it, we'll go for it"?
Oh, so that's what you see happening. Like that's taking him on for a year and just.
Well, I see a team that's going to take him on for a long term. But is there a team that you see wanting a guy like that bad enough and thinking they're in a position where they're one guy away? Because in my opinion, and this is just me, if I'm the owner or if I'm the leading a franchise, I'm not making a big time deal like this, giving up multiple future assets unless I believe my team is one piece away, and I will go all in to try and win a Super Bowl. I believe in going all in. I'm a gambler in that way, but I don't think you do it unless you have to believe that you're right there and you're on the precipice of doing that. Do you believe there's a team?
I see that. I could see it being whichever team misses out on the Jadeveon Clowney sweepstakes if Seattle doesn't, do something with that. But I hear every day that goes by, it's more likely he goes back to Seattle.
Yeah,
I was thinking on different terms. I was thinking more of this could be a team that has a lack of talent on an entire defensive line that might want to lock a young guy down for years and pay him. New York Giants come to my head. They really do. I think it's a team that lacks complete defensive talent, and if you're going to try to build somewhere, you got to start somewhere. And I mean, you've seen them go skill position on offense a few years. Saquon, they did that. They passed up on some D linemen. I think you could be able to get Yannick in there and hopefully start to build that.
All right, so we'll move on. A couple odds and ends here. Kenny Stills arrested for protesting along with 87 other people. So he was protesting, and we don't really get into politics here.
Stay out of politics
but he was protesting the lady who was wrongfully killed by the police in a search and seizure type of situation. So and we're not going to get into that. I don't know the whole story.
Feel bad for Kenny Stills. I'm hoping this gets dropped. If you're just out there peacefully protest,
I think it's a very minor thing. People are going to make this a bigger deal. 87 other people were protesting, and Kenny Stills, I mean, even when there's a reason he was traded from Miami is because he was very outspoken against the owner for the Dolphins and a lot of other things. So he's one of the more outspoken players in the NFL. He was, when the Kaepernick stuff was going on, he was one of the guys who was, kneeling and one of those. He was one of those players. So he's always been very vocal. I have no problem with this. I kind of agree with him. Like, I mean, you got to protest.
I hope he doesn't get in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. So that was interesting. I hope that doesn't become a bigger deal than it is. In my opinion, I don't think it's a big deal. But another cha-ching. Wrong one. Cha-ching. Myles Garrett lands a 5-year. That's why you wore that. Hell yeah. Okay, I missed that.
I had to.
5-year, $125 million extension, $50 million guaranteed.
One of my favorite players.
One of your favorite players. This is a guy who was the first overall pick in 2017. Obviously, we know that. Last year, he did miss the remainder of the season after a fight with Mason Rudolph in Week 11 in that Thursday night game. Up to that point, he had the top 5 sacks in the league, or he was like top 5 sack leader. He had 10 sacks in 10 games up to that point. So yeah, he gets paid.
I love Myles Garrett. The Browns are doing so good with the way that they're building the team. Now we just got to make sure that all the chemistry and everybody can link up and gel, and hopefully it's Stefanski, right?
Yep.
Hopefully under Stefanski, everything starts to work. Myles Garrett comes back, gets to work. I love it, man.
Yeah, no, I
absolutely
agree.
Him.
So
he's the second highest, right?
I believe so. Yes. So
no one's touching Khalil.
Not right now, no. Yeah. But so he gets paid. The Browns have officially taken their name out of the hat for the Jadeveon Clowney sweepstakes. So it doesn't look like he's going to the Browns, and this kind of makes a little bit more sense for why Olivier Vernon had his contract restructured last week. We talked about that last week. We thought it might have something to do with
trying to free up some room.
Yeah, with trying to free up some room, but that didn't end up being the case. So that was most likely to help the Myles Garrett situation. So yeah, he gets signed to a big deal. That's awesome. I don't think there's really a lot to say, right? He's one of
Browns.
One of the top defensive ends in the league. I mean, and he's going to be that for a long time. Another big payday for a defensive lineman. Chris Jones signs a 4-year, $85 million contract with $37 million guaranteed.
But I thought they didn't have money. I thought they couldn't sign him. Right. I thought people said they overpaid.
I didn't know
Pat
where you were going with
Mahomes.
that.
I thought they have money.
Yes,
it was a smart deal. Pat Mahomes, you know what you're doing. Kansas City, you know what you're doing. Y'all are going to have your guys together for a while.
Yeah. No. So I mean, we talked about this last week, and guys, if you want to go back to the last week's pod and look at it, it's actually clipped out on YouTube where it's literally just the contract talk. You can check that out on the YouTube channel at Between Pylons. So the contract for Mahomes, the first 3 years are still very, very team friendly for the Chiefs. I mean, they gave him a little bit of a pay raise, but I mean, they kept it to, hey, you were going to make this much money on your rookie deal. We're going to give you a pay raise and then give you a huge pay raise and your what you will be year 6.
Yeah.
So
and by then Cap's going to go up and they're going to have all these guys restructured and signed and tied down.
Exactly.
It's good. People were freaking out though, because I had some people come at me saying like, how can you say it's a team friendly deal when you talk about $500 million? I get that. I do. Chris Jones, 4 years, $85 million, 37 guaranteed.
37 guaranteed, and then I love what the Chiefs have done.
They can balance their books
because the past two big signings they've had really big injury guarantees, right? So Chris Jones has a $60 million injury guarantee. So if he gets hurt, he gets $60 million of that contract. That's awesome. I believe Patrick Mahomes had a $140 million injury guarantee. That's cool. I like that. Chris Jones, like, people don't realize this, in my opinion, and I know I was screaming this on the podcast when the Super Bowl just happened. He was one of the biggest contributors to that win for the Chiefs last year. People don't want to talk about it. People miss it because he's a defensive line. He didn't have amazing stats. He's the reason that Garoppolo threw his first interception, because he was in Garoppolo's face and caused the errant throw that was an interception. He was a big part of why they were not able to go down and score a touchdown at the very end of the game there. Chris Jones is an absolute monster. Now, he has 33 sacks in his 4-year career. 24.5 of them are over the past 2 years. This was one of the best defensive linemen in the league, in my opinion.
Also, interior D-line as well.
This is an interior defensive lineman. Yeah, that's a good point. One of the best interior defensive linemen in the league. Just an absolute baller, and I think was the most important piece on that defensive line last year, and I think is going to continue to be. It shows the Chiefs know where their important pieces are.
Yeah, they're running it. They're going to be ready for a deep playoff run, if not lifting another Lombardi.
Yeah, honestly. Doesn't look like the Chiefs are going away anytime soon. But we'll move on here. The Eagles bring back Jason Peters to play guard, which I thought was interesting. I know a couple of weeks ago we talked about how Jason Peters really hasn't been signed. Looked like he was going to retire. And now, did we talk about that on the podcast, or was that separate? We might not have talked about that.
Maybe. Well, I know that the reason that they had to convert him over to guard, it was Brandon Brooks, right?
Yeah.
Tore his ACL.
Yes.
So
that's why he's gonna take over there. Yeah, because
imagine being the Eagles' backup guard. I don't know who it was behind Brandon Brooks, and it's like, this is my moment. And then Jason Peters comes out and they move him over to you, and you instantly get. That's how good Jason Peters is.
Yeah, I mean it's just cool because Jason Peters he's been on the tail end of his career for a while.
Guard though.
He is a big ass guard, but I mean I just love the Eagles. The Eagles are one of those teams, they really do show love to their players, man.
Yeah.
Like the players that are their guys for a long time, like they bring them back. They do what they can to show love to that. I like that kind of thing. I love what the Eagles do with their team.
Unless you're Donovan McNabb. Go on.
Fair, yeah, no, true. That threw me off. I'm sorry.
We're good.
All right.
Throw that in there.
Yeah, fuck you, Donovan McNabb.
No, I fucked with him. They didn't fuck with him.
That's true. Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Moving on. Kelvin Harmon tore his ACL. That was the wide receiver for the Washington new team. Name is coming soon.
Good save.
Yeah. So he was a guy who a lot of people were really excited about last year. I know I was actually a big fan of Kevin Harmon coming out of the draft, and a lot of people were looking for him to have a breakout year this year. Not happening this year. Tears his ACL, so that's unfortunate. Which leads us right into the other news. The Washington new name team coming soon is officially announced that they are changing their name, and I'll let you take it because you know a little bit more about the story than me.
We knew this was coming. We knew that they would change their name, and it ends up that Dan Snyder, and I love that this is happening to Dan Snyder because he's such a douche sometimes. He found his name. He found the name that he wanted. Ends up that it's rumored that a guy from as early as 2015 got the rights, the trademark rights to the name that Dan Snyder wants. He's been squatting on this since 2015, and now he gets his time to shine and say, what would you ask for? Like, whatever name it was. I think I sent the list of the names that it was. It's okay. There's like 8 of them that he has.
Yeah.
But he's gonna give that man his cha-ching because Dan Snyder's gonna have to pay him for that.
Crazy.
Whatever name he wants.
Ridiculous. That's so funny. But yeah, no. So they're gonna have to change their name. We did last week where we talked about our name change. I think the Between the Pylons official name for Washington until they actually have their original name, it's gonna be the Washington. What was it? The
Foreskins.
Foreskins. Thank you. Washington Foreskins. I think we like that name the most. And the unfortunate thing is, you said last week you want them to completely change their.
That's what I want. I want them to swap up the entire color scheme.
They're not going to do that. That's another thing that came out is they plan on keeping their same color scheme, and that's unfortunate. I would have liked to see.
I was trying to find some of the names because he holds 8 trademarks on names, and that's how you know one of them is going to.
It was a lot of the basic kind of like the Americas, the Warhogs,
Americans,
So there's a lot of names like that. It'd be interesting to see what they actually end up going with there. All right, so we'll move on. So this goes back to something we were talking about last week, and I wanted to put this in here just because I think it's interesting. And you actually brought it up last week with the Pats' possibility of signing Ngakoue, the tight end for the Browns, trading for him, exactly. Well, the Pats settled a grievance with Antonio Brown and Aaron Hernandez, opening up $7 million in cap space. So apparently, Aaron Hernandez has been holding up about $2 million in cap space for the Patriots for a long time. I didn't know that, which I knew there was a lot of shit that went on with that. I did not realize that hadn't been cleared up, but officially it has, along with the Antonio Brown stuff has officially been cleared up. So they have an extra $7 million in cap space that they didn't have a week ago. So the trade for Ngakoue could be possible. I thought you did a really good job of connecting some dots, and I actually really think that's a good possibility. I really do.
Conspiracy guy in me. That's what it is.
I know it is, but
I can see it. I'll be like, this happened because of that, and then that's gonna go there because of that. I don't know. It just sounds good. I really think that they have a lack of offensive firepower, and you got to get something somewhere.
Yeah.
And they're clearing up room to do something. I don't know what. I don't know where.
Yeah. And maybe they're not doing anything. Like those grievances were. I saw some conspiracy theories on
if
Twitter.
It's the Patriots. There's always
that there is like another move going.
Yep.
Look, it might not be. It might just be some legal shit that just got cleared up, and there's no connection. But all I know for sure is they have an extra $7 million in cap, and I mean, and Ngakoue isn't that expensive. He was a first-round pick, so he's going to cost something, but not that much. And I know that the Browns and Patriots make a lot of deals throughout history. They have at least, and I think it could happen. It makes a lot of sense to me. All right, so we'll move on. Raheem Mostert is requesting a trade. This is one of those things that came out. So usually we record the podcast on a Tuesday. We're doing it on a Wednesday today because This guy screwed up, but
got stuck in Vegas.
Got stuck in Vegas, which is totally fine.
It's okay.
But so we record on Tuesday, post on Thursday morning. So sometimes news hits on Wednesday that we don't get to talk about because we already record the podcast.
So you're welcome.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it worked out great for this week because pretty much the whole show is dedicated to franchise tags and stuff like that. So
all on purpose.
It worked out great. But last week there was some news that came out about Raheem Mostert that came out on that Wednesday. We didn't get to talk about it, so we're going to talk about it now. Raheem Mostert requests a trade, a mix. There's contract disputes. Basically, he wants more money. Obviously,
he wants the running back by committee to be split even.
Exactly.
Money-wise.
Exactly. And really, he's not asking for a lot. I thought it was crazy that he was asking for a trade just because, listen, this is a guy who, we know what the 49ers do we know what Kyle Shanahan does with running backs, right? Like, everywhere he's gone, he's turned a running back into a baller.
It's okay. You can say it. Raheem Mostert is not an elite running back.
No, not by any chance.
Understand your role in the team and how you're used.
He is a one-cut runner that fits the mold of a Kyle Shanahan running back. That's all he is.
He does a really good job.
And he does a good job of it, and we're not shitting on him at all for that. He did great. Look, if they would have won the Super Bowl, I think Raheem Mostert would have been in the conversation for Super Bowl MVP.
Mm-hmm.
That's the type of game he had. He did great down the stretch. Really, he's not asking for a lot. He wants to be paid like Tevin Coleman. Right now, Raheem Mostert's getting about $3 million this next season. He wants the Tevin Coleman money, which is about at $4.5 million, and he did outperform Tevin Coleman. So I get where he's coming from. Unfortunately, the NFL doesn't work like that. You don't get paid for what you did. You get paid for the contract you have. Tevin Coleman is not going to take a pay cut unless they cut him and he has to take a pay cut. And Raheem Mostert probably isn't going to get he's not going to get a raise just because he had a good second half of the season.
I think for this minimal amount of money, though, I do think he is a good running back. He is a great running back by committee in this system.
Yeah.
What's another million?
Yeah, I agree. Look, I'm always pro pay the players. I'm 100% always pro pay the players, but I don't think it's going to happen. We see this happen
Doesn't
enough.
sound like you're 100%.
I'm just being honest. I'm being more realistic with what the.
That's what I try to take the realistic approach. You said 100%, and then you said but. I'm just saying.
You're right. I get it.
Just messing with you. Yeah.
But I also look at what the 49ers have behind Mostert. They do have Tevin Coleman. Yes, they traded Burrito because, they knew what Burrito was and they could get value for him, so they did that. And then they also have, people forget the guy from your Vikings,
Derrick
McKinnon, who's on that roster too. He's just been hurt the past 2 years. He's healthy this year, so there could be some value there from Derrick McKinnon. We'll see. He's on a big deal. The 49ers have already paid their running backs. The 49ers, Matt Burrito was actually the cheapest running back they had. Mostert's the second cheapest, and then Tevin Coleman and Derrick McKinnon are taking up the biggest amount of cap room. And really, with a team that can do with a coach, with a Kyle Shanahan, that can turn pretty much any running back that comes out of the draft that fits the system that they run, they can turn them into a star. So it's kind of surprising they're deciding to pay these guys the way they are. Just from a economic standpoint, it does surprise me a little bit.
I like it.
Fair enough. All right, we're good.
I think they should fork out a little bit more money just to keep him, make him happy, because it's just such a small amount. But
who's going to trade for Mostert? Honestly, I think at the end of the day, there's no team out there that can honestly look at what the 49ers always do, or you see again what Kyle Shanahan always does with running backs and say, yeah, you'll be just as good in our system. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. But we'll move on. This is a big one. This is probably the biggest news of the week, and it comes out of college this week. The most conferences in college, they're isolating their schedule. Look, you're the college guy. I'll let you you're going to explain.
No, you can say it, and then I can flow it.
Yes.
Well, they're isolating their college schedules because of coronavirus. So it means that Big Ten plays only Big Ten, SEC will only play SEC. ACC will only play ACC, and we assume the rest of the conferences are going to come around to it. I don't think the SEC has actually made an official announcement on it. They said they're looking at all their options.
No.
And it's probably because they don't want to have to do this constant thing of let's beat the shit out of each other every single week. So this drastically helps teams like Ohio State, Clemson, and I already know they pretty much had an easy road to the playoffs no matter what. But Ohio State opened up with Oregon week 1. That's done now.
Yeah.
There's no chance of that. I'm not sure who Clemson had right off the top of my head. We're going to figure that one out. Teams like Notre Dame, who are independent, they got pushed into the ACC.
Did they? Okay.
ACC welcomed them. Notre Dame hasn't responded. ACC said, you can come play if you want. So that'll be some good games for them. That's what we want. all other Notre Dame sports are in the ACC. Why not just go ahead and join the rest?
I think if they're going to accept them, they should force Notre Dame to actually join the ACC officially. And I know Notre Dame fans don't like that. A buddy of mine's a huge Notre Dame fan, loves that they're separate from all of that.
Well, they are constantly in the talks for.
Absolutely. But my thing is,
games.
and granted, I'm a Florida State fan, so I kind of lean towards the ACC. I'd like to see them get better. I think it would really help us to have a team like Notre Dame in the ACC.
Yeah.
Give us a little bit more relevance, honestly.
Oh, for sure. Instead of the one-hit wonder with Clemson.
We have Clemson, Florida State if they ever come back, and then that's kind of it. Miami, if Miami ever comes back, we'll see what happens.
My first fear whenever I heard the schedule thing was the SEC is going to cannibalize itself.
Yeah.
But I listened to some of the explanations on this, and it's not that they're adding games. So they're not going to add anyone else's. So if you look at SEC, Florida has one of the easiest schedules this year. They're not really branching out. It's kind of their time to shine with Kyle Trask. Hopefully they can get it done. And if you were to add the Alabama, the Auburn, into their mix, they're leaving SEC games.
So how does that work? So teams are going to play
8 conference games.
Then that's it.
So it sounds like they're going to shorten the schedule, and this would allow the season to start sometime mid-October. Maybe the beginning of October.
So they're only going to have 8 games?
It's not officially announced yet what the SEC is going to do, but it's either you do that or you throw every big dog. There's 14 SEC teams, 12 games.
Yeah.
Where everyone's going to line up and call for Vandy. Yeah. Give them.
So here's my question. And granted, you follow this a lot closer than I do. I've kind of been in the weeds with some, with the fantasy football writing and stuff like that. So I know you know more about this than I do. And I'm just going to kind of pick your brain. How does that work? Because I look at college and it's like, take Alabama. Like a lot of times they play nobodies every week. So those weeks they're just not going to play anybody.
At the moment, it just depends on what those lower schools are going to do, because a lot of the lower schools actually depend on that money for their athletics department.
100%.
Bama can throw around,
$1 million,
$2 million for some nobody, and every single team in the nation does it too. All the big dogs, Ohio State, Auburn, Florida, everyone does that. So some of these smaller schools, they might just have to adjust to their own conference play. I know a lot of teams that...
Or do the smaller schools, if they're not getting that money, just cancel their athletics this year?
See, that would really suck.
That would really suck.
As a result. But with what you're given, if you know that you're not really going to be able to compete on a national stage at that level, it just depends on how much you kind of love your program and love your athletes.
Yeah, that's
it's going to be weird.
So if Clemson only plays ACC opponents...
I would put as much money as I could on them going to the playoffs.
Well, of course, I think that's a home run take. But I mean, are they even going to be interesting to watch? I mean, is it even going to be like?
I mean, you'll get to see
them against Florida State if they can be anything.
You will get to see Trevor Lawrence
be.
have a Heisman-like season.
Yeah,
you will get to see that. We will get to see his draft stock go through the roof.
That's just my issue, and like I'm just kind of thinking about. Like, is that even going to be fun? Like, because I mean,
listen. In all honesty, did it change that much from last year though? Who did Clemson play? They have a SEC crossover with South Carolina. That's a rivalry that they play every year.
Yeah, and
they get South Carolina out of the SEC.
Yeah, and that was actually a big game last year. They almost lost that. Yeah.
3 years ago, and they had a home and home with Texas A&M. They already wrapped that up, so that's out of the way now. Before that, it was Auburn. So I mean, they had some good games every now and then.
Yeah.
But all in all, there was really never a game that we looked at and it was like,
oh shit.
Exactly. That's
okay. That's
the
fair.
benefit of that schedule. Ohio State really had one that they got to miss out on with Oregon. Pretty sure Ohio State would have taken that one, but still, you almost want your team to be battle tested.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I think this is a huge advantage for the SEC opponents like Auburn and really Alabama. I think this is setting up for Alabama.
If we're beating ourselves up though, because Alabama's going to have a new quarterback this year. Okay, so what if they need warm-up games?
And that's a totally fair point. But I'm more looking at like the team that can get out of the SEC. I mean, they're battle tested. They've already played the toughest, opponents. They're not losing to the Clemsons and the Ohio States who haven't played anybody all year.
It just depends on which side of the coin you look at.
You're right. I mean,
a healthy Justin Fields, a healthy Trevor Lawrence. If you go
can do a lot of different things.
And you look at Oregon, maybe they're ready to get going. USC has some dogs this year.
Yep.
I don't really know how it's going to shake up, but I know that if SEC team after SEC constantly beats up on each other. And we have a few people who listen that are SEC haters. That's okay. Yeah. That's good. I completely get that. I am an SEC lover. I think it is the most dominant conference in all of sports when you look at it.
Yeah,
SEC West in particular.
Yeah.
I mean, come on now. Like, these warm-up games are needed. Alabama's going into this year with some fresh wide receivers. Jalen Waddle's their best.
Yeah.
They have a new quarterback. They have some lackluster defensive talent that's going to be there. I mean, I'm serious. I really think that they're going to need some of these warm-up cupcake games to kind of get things going.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, some Lane Kiffin-led Ole Miss team could come out there and beat you.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Mike Leach is an air raid attack system. He's always has good quarterbacks at Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Someone's going to fall where they shouldn't fall, and you can blame the scheduling system.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, we've said this many times. I do want to add this in there at the end. There's an asterisk on this season no matter what happens. Like, right? I mean,
I
we
still
agree with
want
that.
to win it.
Yeah, absolutely. But like, if Auburn wins this year, and you talk shit about Auburn,
won't take nothing away from you.
It won't take nothing away from you. But I'm just saying, go with me on this for a second.
Okay, I'll give you
5-6 years from now, where all the guys are hanging out, like our entire crew, we're all hanging out. You're talking shit. You're like, yeah, well, Alabama won, or excuse me, sorry. Well, Auburn won in 2020, and we'll be like, that doesn't fucking count. Like, we're just gonna rag on you for it. I'm sure
it's going to count. In fact, I think as time goes on, this will help.
I'm just saying, whoever...
As time goes on, it will be forgotten. So Brian Scalabrine was a player for the Celtics whenever they won the championship. Mm-hmm. Dude got like 5 finals minutes. Mm-hmm. And they asked him at the end of it, it was like, what are you going to tell your kids? He said, shoot, 5 years from now, I'll tell them I got to play. 10 years from now, tell them I got a game-winning bucket. Mm-hmm. 25 years from now, finals MVP. As time goes on, you're good. That asteriske's going away. Let's see it happen.
I get that. Okay, but all right. Well, we have a buddy that's an Alabama fan. I'll take you out of it. If Alabama wins this year, you're telling me you're not going to give Corkin shit? If he tries to talk any shit, you're going to be like, nah, it doesn't count. It's 2020. Like,
listen,
it's just,
I get what
you
you're
know
saying.
what I'm saying. Yeah, I think everybody knows what I'm saying, right? Like, we've all talked shit about.
It's the same
football.
way for the NFL right now. It's the same way for almost any sport. I mean,
of
baseball,
course.
60 game, NBA bubble. LeBron, he finally gets to fulfill his legacy and go to LA and win the the championship. It would be for Kobe, but some there's haters out there.
Yeah,
there's haters everywhere.
Yeah,
so,
I agree. I'm just saying that's the one thing that does suck this year for
no matter
for
what
sports
we
in
get,
general.
it is not going to be our product we're used to.
Yes, it's not, but we're kind of just watching it. That actually leads us into our last news and notes point, and then we're going to kind of move on. The NFL does ban jersey swaps.
They're so dumb.
Which is stupid. I think we both agree on that. They just played an entire football game.
Let me go knock the shit out of you, but I can't.
I can't wear a jersey afterwards. Yeah. You're sweaty and nasty, and we just like played football for 60 minutes. But yeah, you're right. We can't trade jerseys. That's too fucking far. All right, so that's dumb. I think we both agree on that. I think everyone would agree with that.
A lot of players are speaking out against it, too.
Yeah, I think players are right there. There's a lot of other stuff going on with how COVID's going to affect the NFL, and right now we just don't know. The NFL is negotiating with the NFLPA. There's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of teams that have already announced, if they're gonna have no fans or 25% occupancy or
I've
50.
Seen a few 25%. Yeah.
So it's all kind of crazy. Look, we're going to break down every single thing that's going to happen with the NFL season. We're going to break down everything that's going to happen with the college season when we know everything. So right now, there's a couple little details that have come out this week. I thought about putting them in, and I just stopped because it's like, we don't know if that's going to change in 3 weeks. We don't know anything right now, so we're just going to wait. We're going to stop. Once there's a clear plan, we will dive into that, and we'll give you everything you need to know. Until then, we're just kind of in a wait-and-see mode, and we're going to talk about some other stuff, okay? So I wanted to put that out there for you guys, the listeners and the YouTube viewers. We really appreciate you guys. We're going to move on. Let's talk franchise tag. We're going to go down the list of everyone who's officially, because the deadline is passed. Like, as of recording this, it's 6 o'clock.
They're stuck with it now.
Yeah, it passed. It passed about 2 hours ago, and we're going to kind of talk about everybody. Shaq Barrett, he filed agreement. Shaq Barrett and Bud Dupree, both defensive ends. Shaq Barrett for the Tampa Bay, Bud Dupree for the Steelers. Excuse me. They both filed grievances to be considered defensive end and get that defensive end franchise tag money. Exactly. It's kind of funny because if you look at what Matthew Judon did, he signed his franchise tag a long time ago. He didn't end up getting a contract, so he is going to play on that tag. But he negotiated with the team to get between defensive end and linebacker money. So
I think that's fair compromise too,
especially for Matthew Judon, who the Ravens defense is a blitz based defense, so they send guys from all over the field. Their entire defense is based on disguise and trying to fool offenses.
So there are times where there's this and
exactly. There's times where he's standing up as a linebacker, sometimes where he's sitting down as a defensive end. It was fair for them to split.
Now Shaq Barrett, Bud Dupree though.
Yeah, Shaq Barrett's a defensive end. He gets called the outside linebacker, but if you're on the line, 35 plays out of 37. You're a defensive end. I mean, come on.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Chandler Jones is listed as a linebacker.
Yeah,
technically.
it's one of those weird things. Exactly. So those guys didn't get a deal done. They're going to play on the franchise tag. AJ Green, I don't think anybody's surprised by this. He's playing on the franchise tag.
He's got to prove himself.
Yeah, he does. So obviously he missed all of last year. I believe, and I was actually reading an article I was reading an article about his injury history and what to expect in this year, and it was kind of based in like fantasy and stuff. There's a 58% chance that he re-injures himself based on certain things. And my cat is making noise in the background. I apologize, guys.
We'll get it.
So yeah, there's a 58% chance that he re-injures himself based on some website that does the analytics for that. So I'm not sure exactly how they get that number.
Man, I like AJ Green.
Yeah, it sucks. It's so unfortunate, of course, because he's been stuck with the Bengals, and they've had some good seasons. He's had some great years, but I mean, he has not. But he's averages like 13 games a season, and that takes out last year.
If he can return to even a somewhat healthy form though, and get a full season in,
yeah.
Man, he could so help out the rest of that team.
Of course. Let me ask you this: at 31 years old, is he ever going to return to form?
I'll run a shot on him.
Yeah.
I really will. I think he is one of the most disrespected wide receivers out there.
I agree with that.
People really forget about what he was.
All right, so his current ADP is in the 5th round. Do you like him there, or where would you draft him in fantasy?
That's hard.
Yeah.
5th round?
5th round is tough.
You just had me talk him up, and now it's like, that's rough.
His ADP, according to the ADP tracker or whatever that's online, 5.3. So the 3rd pick in the 5th round is his current ADP.
Depends on how the rest of my team shakes it. I can't totally rule it out. I really can't.
And the 5th, I can rule him out in the 5th round. For me, that's just me. I wouldn't take a gamble there.
I'm being generous because I also know guys like Stephon Diggs are in that same round. And it's not even close when you compare that.
Yeah, not even close. All right, Anthony Harris, he gets
Thank you.
Yeah, the safety
so
for the
happy.
Vikings. He does sign his franchise tag, so he will be playing on a 1-year deal. Unfortunately,
top 5 safety PFF.
He really is. Unfortunately, he couldn't get a deal done with the Vikings.
You don't have the money.
Yeah, I know, I get it. Hunter, well, I mean, but they could have.
No, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. We're in the red.
If they would have gotten a deal done, they could have taken less money from this year and maybe been able to work something out. You know how the cap works. I mean, it's weird like that. Hunter Henry, tight end for the Chargers. He's going to play on the franchise tag, which again, very similar to AJ Green, not talent wise, but like situation wise, he's just been injured and it's kind of a prove it year for him. Yannick Ngakoue, we've already talked about that. He's franchise tagged, obviously didn't get a deal done. We'll see what happens. He's vowed not to play for the Jags this year. We don't know if that's going to change. That he could easily play because, again, like I said earlier, $17.8 million sounds a lot better than $0 million for 16 games, man. I don't know. Dak Prescott, that's the big one. That's the one we're going to have to sit here talk about for a second. Dak Prescott does not get a deal done. Now, the final things that came out, the deal was between 33 and 35 million a year, and I believe that this is reported. This is just what they're saying, that it was going to be for 33 to 35 million a year and 110 million guaranteed.
For how many years?
It didn't say. I want to say it was 4 years. It might have been 5.
4
I'm
years,
not sure.
3,300. I mean, it's a good contract.
Yeah, it would have been a great contract.
Dak, sign it.
He didn't, or it didn't get done. I don't know for whatever reason.
I don't know who it came from. I don't know what. Listen, I actually side with Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys on this. I really do. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for saying it, but I truly believe that Dak is not a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
You're going to put your money where your mouth is later on.
I will.
Yeah,
I will.
So.
He has flashes. He has moments. I will sit here and say on certain weeks that Dak is a good elite quarterback. But Zach Martin, best guard in the National Football League. Well, besides Quentin Nelson. So he's a top 5 guard.
Yeah.
Amari Cooper, Zeke. I mean, you have a baller offensive line. You have a great team.
Top 5 offensive line.
Yes.
If you went receiving core, I don't think I could name 5 receiving cores better right now.
Especially now.
Definitely not 10.
With adding on seeding.
Definitely not 10. They have the top 10 receiving core in my opinion.
They have a lot of
top
good
5
talent
running
around.
back.
And I get just because you have good talent around you doesn't mean that you aren't owed your money. You are owed your money. 33 to 35 million is right what you're owed though.
Yeah, I agree.
You're not worth Pat Mahomes money.
You're not worth Russell Wilson money.
You're not worth what's gonna be Deshaun Watson money.
Yeah.
You're really not. I'm sorry. Yes, that could put you up in the top 5 paid quarterbacks, and that would have.
Yeah.
I know it would have.
Because Russell Wilson's at 35.
Russ. Yeah, that's right below Russ. So if you're going to sit here and realistically say that you deserve more money than that, you deserve $40 million a year, have fun playing for the franchise tag.
Yeah.
I'll get a bunch of hate for it. I know I will.
I'm going to clip that out. I think that's a great one. All right, Brandon Sheriff, guard for the Washington new team coming soon.
Yeah. The Washingtons.
The Washingtons. So he didn't get a deal done. I don't think anybody's really surprised by that. Brandon Sheriff has said multiple times that he's trying to get out. Justin Simmons doesn't get a deal done either. Safety for the Denver Broncos. Yeah. So he doesn't get a deal done, and that was close apparently. Apparently, they were on the cusp of getting a deal done, and that didn't happen. Leonard Williams, defensive end for the Jets, or D tackle, DN, whatever, doesn't get a deal done. Joe Thuney, he signed a long time ago. That's the guard for the Patriots.
It was a weird tag too.
Yeah,
whenever it happened, it was weird.
Yeah, Matthew Judon, same deal. Last one, Kenyon Drake. Now he signed a transition tag, so the deadline is July 22nd for the transition tag. We're not going to talk about it on this pod unless something changes, but it's looking like Kenyon Drake's going to play on that 1 year deal. Essentially, it's a prove it deal. I think Kenyon Drake's fine with it. He hasn't had a full season of success in the NFL yet. He showed legitimate flashes last year, and I'll be the first one to say Kenyon Drake is one of those guys I'm slamming the table for. He's going to be fantasy profile of the weeks very soon on this podcast. I'm excited to talk about him in a little bit more detail later on. But I mean, man, I think he's a baller. I think he's a great player. I think he was really underutilized in Miami, and I think when he went to the Arizona Cardinals, he showed how good he was. Man, he really did. I mean, he balled out in the second half of the season. I expect him to make a lot of money this year for himself. Any thoughts on that? Any thoughts on any of these guys you want to talk about?
I like Kenyon Drake a lot. I mean, he was able to win some fantasy games against me. I know that for sure. Joe Thuney was a weird tag. Justin Simmons, I really like it. He's there. Dak, like I said, you were worth 33 to 35 million, and that's not being disrespectful.
I don't think that's mean. No,
I'd
love to be worth $30 million.
I'm trying to envision some people coming at me. It's like he's right behind. He's not ahead of Russ.
No, I don't think. Nobody would argue with that. I don't think.
Shoot.
Is he a top 5 quarterback? No, I don't. I mean, right?
There are weeks where he goes. He's one of those guys. There are weeks where he goes up to that. There are weeks where he doesn't. But I mean,
we've said many times he's on the cusp of top 10 sometimes. But I mean, we'll talk about it more later on. Actually, exactly. So we'll actually move on from that. That's the franchise tags. We'll see what I mean. That's the end of that. So there's nothing else that can happen there. All right. So this is a new segment that we're doing on the channel or on the podcast, and I think we're going to try and do it every week if it's well received at least. Fantasy profile of the week, right? So this week we are talking about Joe Mixon, and we're just going to kind of go down the line of the stats, what I expect from him. I want to hear your thoughts as well, but I kind of have some detailed thoughts on this, and we're going to get into it right now.
Take it away.
So last year, 2019, he rushed for 1,137 yards, 5 touchdowns, on top of 35 receptions for another 287 yards and 3 receiving touchdowns as well. That averaged out to the 11th running back in the league. So he was RB11 on the season. It should be noted that he was RB11 throughout 16 games, playing all 16 games. There's some guys that were ahead of him only playing 15 games because the 16th game doesn't matter, or things like that. There was guys ahead of him that only had 13 games on it. So I thought that's worth mentioning. He averaged about 11.9 points per game in your standard PPR leagues type of your PPR leagues, not your standard leagues. Some interesting stats that I found. He was tied for the second most created yards last year. So he was tied with Nick Chubb for 576 total created yards. So those are yards that the offensive line doesn't get for you, that he produces on his own.
You're making that play.
Doing great. That's almost half of his yards. That's 5/11ths of half. I mean, yeah, that's like 45% of his total yards, because he had 1,100 rushing yards. 576 of them were created by him. And that makes sense because he was playing behind the 3rd worst offensive line according to PPF last year. Joe Mixon, he was the true workhorse back. He generated 75% of the rushing market share last season. So, I mean, a true workhorse in every sense of the word. The only thing that should be noted that I thought was kind of interesting, he was not predominantly used in the passing game. So obviously only 35 receptions for 287 yards. But when you look at the routes ran, Joe Mixon ran 118 routes. Giovanni Bernard, who was the running back 2, ran 129 routes. So, I mean, it was close.
That's surprising.
Yeah, that is surprising. And Giovanni Bernard turned those routes into about 30 receptions for just under, I think it was like 230 yards, whatever it was, doesn't matter. So very close, and just in general, the Bengals didn't utilize the running back out of the backfield that much.
Yeah.
It should be noted, Joe Burrow, I don't have the numbers here for you, but I mean, if you watched LSU last year, you know he utilized his running back out of the backfield. A lot of that was the fact that they had CEH, who was one of the best running backs in college football last year. I'll say that. I mean, he was just so smooth. He had legit route running ability as a running back, so that could have helped. We don't know what the offense is going to look like next year with Joe Burrow, but I would imagine that he's going to look to his running back a little bit more than the quarterbacks for the Bengals last year.
He should have a better year next year. Joe Mixon should.
I think he will, and you know, there's a lot of things that go into, but we're talking about a guy who is the true workhorse back for his team. His current ADP is at 1.12, so the last pick in the first round in a standard 12-team league, and this is your PPR leagues. His high is 104, which is ridiculous. I don't know who's drafting him with the 4th pick in the draft. His low is 3.7, but that's kind of the range you're looking at. Into the first round, beginning of the second round, that's where you can kind of get Joe Mixon. I think the value is right there. I really do.
I would be very scared having him be my first round pick.
Yeah, it is. It is scary.
My second round pick, I'll run.
If I'm at the turn and I can get, let's say I can get a Hill, a Travis or a Tyreek Hill, which he's going a little bit earlier than the turn right there. But if I can get Hill and Joe Mixon, I think I'm okay with that. I think I'm excited about that. If I can get,
just depends. It's hard.
It is tough. It really is. But if I could get, man, I don't know. It's kind of, I think my value for some of these running backs are a little bit different than Joe Mixon. This is one of the rare situations where his ADP is about where it should be based on my projections. Let's get into that right now. My projection for next season, this is based on the fact that he is in a contract year. You were talking about a lot of running backs are coming into a contract year. Joe Mixon is one of them. This is based on the fact that he had true market share. Nothing really changed with the running backs last season to this season. And, I mean, the team should be better. They added pieces on the offense, so they should be running the ball a little bit more. Rushing yards, I have him producing 1,298 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns, and then another 48 receptions for 375 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. It puts him right in the range of being very valuable at the end of the first round.
I think he'll get some more touchdowns than that.
You think he'll get more touchdowns than that? Those are just my predictions.
No, I get that. Man, yeah. I mean, eight.
Yeah, totally fair. Yeah,
it just depends on what the offense does. I do think they're going to be throwing it a lot.
I think those touchdown numbers are low because I think the overall offensive touchdowns, that's what it's based on, that I have projected for the team, is lower. So that's why that's how that ends up working.
How much do you really see them? They had a lot of games where they were under 20 points.
Exactly. So that's where that comes from. But totally fair point. He could easily, get more touchdowns. It's actually the same amount of touchdowns that he had last year. That's not by design by any means. It's totally different, but just ended up working out that way. Mm-hmm. So I think we look at Joe Mixon as a guy who can be very valuable. I think I think it's unfortunate because I think his value isn't. I think you can find more valuable guys at the turn, but that's right where I like him.
That is strictly fantasy-wise, though, for me. Like, looking at that. Absolutely. Because when it comes to Joe Mixon, the running back, I really like Joe Mixon. He's on a horrible team.
I will go so far as to say Joe Mixon, the running back, is right on the cusp of being a top 5 running back in the league.
Yeah,
and I think
he's
it proves
borderline elite.
I think one of the numbers, like the first stat that I gave you guys that is, I think, the most telling, he tied for second most in yards created last year with 576. Almost half of his total yards were yards created. That shows talent. That shows
give me the ball,
physical
make
ability.
Something happen. Yeah.
Exactly. He's going to make something happen. I mean, man, I don't know. I think you always look at rookie quarterbacks. The running back's their best friend. This can be that kind of case with Joe Mixon. It's unfortunate because you never want a running back on a bad team. And I agree with you. I think the point you made where running back is your first pick, or Joe Mixon is your first running back and your first pick, that's scary. That is scary.
I mean, if you're a first-round running back, that means that you got to be lumped in the same category as Dalvin, as Aaron Jones, as Christian McCaffrey, as Derrick Henry.
And
Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, we know the oddball.
All those guys are gone. All those guys are gone at this point.
I know.
So I think you're going to eat, because that's just how it's going.
Would you rather have Joe Mixon or Josh Jacobs?
Man, I
think that's the choice that a lot of you will have.
If I'm at the turn, I take them both. If I'm at the turn, I could easily take them both right there.
And I would run that. Like I said,
Yeah.
Joe Mixon is my second running back. If I'm able to get something like a Kamara and Joe Mixon, I would do that.
No questions asked.
happy
Yeah, I
with
don't
that.
think you're going to get him, though. Kamara's going to the first.
Little tidbit on Madden itself. Who's higher, Joe Mixon or Alvin Kamara?
I don't know.
What do you think?
I would say probably Alvin Kamara.
Nope.
Joe Mixon's
Joe
higher?
Mixon's an 89. Kamara's an 88.
That's awesome. That reminds me, we're gonna play that game with the listeners after this segment. We're gonna talk about the quarterbacks on Madden. I think that'll be a good one. So I love Joe Mixon. I think his value is right there at 1.12. I think you're doing really good there. I think we've said all we need to say about Joe Mixon. We did good there. I hope you guys enjoyed that segment. If there's anybody you want me to talk about and do a deep dive in their fantasy profile, leave it in the comments below. Right next to I want the Barkley jersey. Leave it in the comments, and I'll get to it. We'll get to it. All right, so let's talk about the Madden.
I have it. You don't
rankings.
look it up.
I have
I
it.
need to get you.
Oh, you're getting me? I have it right here.
Dang. Okay, then run it. I've seen a lot of them.
You? Oh no, I haven't really paid attention to it. If you have it, let's do it.
Because
All right.
I have one that as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I can't wait. He's gonna be so upset.
Okay.
Gonna be so upset.
Why would I be upset? All right,
So I'll just say it and I'll let you react.
Okay.
99 overall, Pat Mahomes.
Yeah, that's right.
We knew that was coming.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the first 99 club. I don't know how many they announced Aaron Donald as well.
That's
Maybe
fair.
Michael Thomas will go up there or someone else, Russell Wilson, 97 overall.
That's fair, yeah.
Lamar Jackson, 94 overall.
Wow, that's actually lower than I thought it would be.
With
but yeah,
96 speed.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah,
he's
then,
got that, yeah.
Yeah, you have to nerf him somehow. Yeah, that's fair.
Drew Brees, 93 overall.
I was gonna say I know Drew Brees and Tom Brady are right in that top 5. So you don't have to tell me that.
Brady at 90.
Look, I get that. And Madden a lot of times Madden is based on legacy and stuff like that. I think.
Is there a name missing here that one of your favorite quarterbacks in football?
Oh, Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, that's surprising.
He's not a 90.
He's not even in the 90s. That's
He's an
surprising.
89. Aaron Rodgers comes in at 6th at an 89 overall.
I mean, he had one bad year. I guess he was hurt the year before a little bit.
They tore him up for it, didn't they?
God, I mean, okay, whatever. I don't want to be too much of a Aaron Rodgers dick rider, like you like to call me. I think that's a little crazy, but
I mean, you are.
Yeah, no, I am. You're right. Okay, that's weird. All right, keep going down the line.
Matt Ryan, 87.
Look, Matt Ryan is one of the least talked about good quarterbacks in the league. Like we always talk about like these elite quarterbacks, and Matt Ryan is just like the very top of that next tier, and we never talk about him. Really, really good quarterback, just your classic pocket passer. I think that's right on line with 87 overall. Yeah.
Deshaun Watson, 86 overall.
Surprised he's that low.
That's pretty low.
That's the name. That's the name I
low.
forgot about. That. Yeah, he should not be that low at all. That's ridiculous. That's criminal. He should be in the 90s.
And then we will do the 9 and 10 because they are tied at 84.
Okay.
Dak Prescott, 84. And Carson Wentz, 84.
Okay. I get Carson Wentz being the same as Dak because of injuries last year. He didn't get to prove it. Carson Wentz is better than Dak Prescott.
Carson is more talented overall than Dak. Yeah.
Carson Wentz is much more talented.
Like I said, I feel like we're just crapping on Dak. It's not like that. I really think that Carson Wentz was on an MVP season until he hurt that leg.
You know what it is? And really what I think it is? We both see, and I know we're very similar on this, we both see Dak Prescott as like a fringe top 10 quarterback in the league, a fringe, like right in that top 15 range between 10 and 15.
Yeah.
That's about where we see him. That's about where I see him at least. I won't put words in your mouth. And he throughout the news and throughout media and everything, he gets built up as this all-star top 5 quarterback, and he's just not. So instead of shitting on him, like we get viewed as shitting on him, but we're just trying to correct the narrative a little bit.
That's what it is. It's just that I hear so much hype about him in the narrative, and it's just like he's a good quarterback, and it's okay in saying that.
Exactly. So it's more about correcting the narrative. I feel like I get a lot of shit for talking about Tom Brady. I don't think he's a bad quarterback in any means. I try to be realistic with the narrative.
Hard to come at the GOAT, though.
Yeah, absolutely. But I talk about him, going to this season or talking about him last year and saying, he was an average quarterback last year, and I get shit for it, and that's fine. But the narrative is that he was, an all-star last year, and he wasn't. And then, I just kind of that's me trying to fight the narrative, and you're never going to win when you're trying to fight a narrative.
Matt Stafford, it was one for me. I know he was hurt last year, but before that, he was a really good quarterback.
He was.
Other than that,
doesn't shock me though.
Well, the reason is because of the injuries and stuff. They got to kind of sell them a little lower, some of those guys, and then let them rise up.
I get that.
Kirk Cousins at 79.
Kirk Cousins is 79.
Kind of hurts.
Yeah, I mean, so there's no other quarterbacks in the 80s?
Cam's a 78.
Cam's a 7. Wow, I'm surprised they put Cam at 78 just because he didn't have a team.
You think he'd be higher?
No, I thought...
Stidham's in the 60s.
Yeah, I think 78's right for a guy who didn't play last year.
I think it's right for Cam too. I was just messing with you. You can't have him in the 80s, especially with all the injuries.
Yeah, exactly. So who else are we missing? Is there any? I'm looking at the teams over here.
Phillip Rivers was a little lower than that.
He should be because he had a bad year last year.
Yep.
Where was Josh Allen?
I think he was 81.
He was 81.
Yeah.
That's about right. I feel like.
I like Josh Allen too.
Yeah, I like Josh Allen a lot. All right, so that's good. Derek Carr. Do you know where Derek Carr was?
No,
he's probably in the probably.
I see Mariota being maybe a 70, 71. Derek Carr being a 75.
We're different on that. You think Mariota is going to take over the starting job there?
I think he has a chance to because I think that John Gruden does not like Derek Carr.
Dude, it's weird. I do agree with that. All right, so we'll
I like
on.
Derek Carr. I don't think Gruden likes Derek Carr.
That's true. I couldn't agree more.
You know how he is when he comes to his quarterback. I mean, that's the mantra that got gifted to him.
Yeah.
As being the QB guy. So.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right, so we will move on to our top fives. I believe you did top five last week, so I will do start off this week. I am doing top five defense, and this is top five defensive players in the NFC East. All right, so at my number five, I have Daron Payne, defensive tackle for the Washington No Names. Look, he's a baller. He was an absolute monster last year. The entire Washington Redskins team, defensive line, is super, super good. Mm-hmm. And I said Redskins. Sorry, guys. The entire Washington defensive line is really good. They obviously add Chase Young. I'm going to say it right now. He's in my honorable mentions. I didn't put him in the top five only because he's never played a snap. I truly believe if we do this next year, he'll be my number one or two. I couldn't put him in the top five yet just because he hasn't played a snap of football yet. And then add on all the other crap that's going on. How much of a camp is he going to have? How dominant is he going to be without without that one-on-one time in with the team? So I don't know. We'll see. So in my number four, I have Leighton Vander Esch, the defensive or the linebacker for the Cowboys, first round pick a couple years ago. Super, super good baller. Has that like Zach Taylor thing on his.
Yeah,
I love it. Oh, he looks like a baller.
The neck roll,
dude. That neck roll. He looks so fucking huge. He's big. My number three, Jalen Smith. Another linebacker for the Cowboys.
They have a really good linebacker.
I think Jalen Smith is better than Vander Esch. Do you disagree with that?
I think you're fair in saying that. I think we've gotten to see Jalen Smith more too.
Yeah,
and he has a better story too because he got hurt coming out of Notre Dame. He got hurt,
and just over the past two or 3 years, I feel like he's balled out a little bit.
He's done really good.
And I actually did a lot of research for comparing those two, and I just came away thinking Jalen Smith is just a little bit better. I think that's totally fair. So we'll move on. DeMarcus Lawrence. God, I have a lot of Cowboys on here. I didn't realize.
They got a good defense.
They do have a good defense. DeMarcus Lawrence is my number two. Absolute baller on defensive end. He's another guy I feel like that doesn't get mentioned enough as far as defensive end. And granted, he's on the Cowboys, so he gets mentioned a lot. But he's a baller, man. And I don't hear people talk about him enough. And then my number one is Fletcher Cox, defensive tackle for the Eagles. This dude is a monster. He's a top. Honestly, he's right behind Aaron Donald for defensive tackle in the league. I think he's right there. He's so dominant. He is so disruptive in the middle. And if he doesn't have the stats, it's because defensive tackles rarely have the stats to back up how good they are. But they're just a fuck the play up type of guy who just comes in and just destroys the middle of that offensive line, which is so important. He's just so good. I love Fletcher.
Well, he helps out Derek Barnett. He helps out Brandon Graham.
That whole Eagles defensive line. I didn't do my honorable mentions, but whatever. I'll let you take it over. But
no honorable mentions.
Yeah, I didn't.
Darius Slay.
Darius Slay's on.
Clinton Dix.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't even write them down. I'm not gonna lie. I only did my top five.
I know. You have no love for secondary. No love for secondary.
But you're right. All those guys would have been honorable mentions. I was gonna say the Eagles' defensive line is really good too, and I think Fletcher Cox is just the centerpiece of that defensive line.
Yeah.
So I'll let you go take it over.
I'll go into mine. I have a few honorable mentions.
Gotcha.
Jason Kelsey,
one
of the best centers in the league. I think he really helps out that team a lot.
Yeah.
Scary Terry McLaurin. I put you on here not so much to give you. I feel like he just doesn't get any love. He was on a really bad team last year, and he
was
emerged.
A baller.
He did really good. So you're not good enough to be top five. Hopefully, if you can keep doing that, maybe Dwayne Haskins will be the guy.
Yeah.
Maybe that can be the new dynamic duo. Brendan Sheriff, same team, sticking with the Washington whatevers.
Yeah.
And he's solid. I mean, they got him for a franchise tag, and he really helps out that line. Wish they could have gotten Trent Williams to play.
Yeah.
That'd have been good. Amari Cooper. He's on an honorable mention.
Honorable mention, Amari
Oh,
Cooper.
I know. Look at you. Don't look at my list.
No, I didn't look at it. Okay, I'm sorry.
Amari Cooper is not on my top 5.
Wow. Okay.
I hid this one from John this week.
You have to explain that.
I love Amari Cooper a lot. Inconsistency with being consistent is my problem. There are weeks where he can go off for 185 and 2 touchdowns. Thank you. There are weeks where he goes, he gets 6 targets for 40 yards, and that's a wrap.
Yeah.
And I can say that because I've had him on my fantasy team for almost 2 years running now.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Great talent overall. I really do. If it makes it feel any better, he is the highest wide receiver in this division.
Yeah.
Not another receiver cracks this. So
yeah.
There we go. My other honorable mention, go ahead, crap on me in the comments. I'm ready for it. Dak Prescott. You are not on my top 5. I am sorry. I really think you were good. I think the guys above you are better. And part of it is just the sour taste of the whole wanting $40 million, wanting more than 35. I just see him as a $33 to $35 million quarterback. I see him as a really good quarterback.
Yeah.
He'd be making more than Kirk, just under Russ. I think it's good at that.
Yeah, no, I could, look, we agree on that. We've kind of beat the drum on Dak Prescott in this pod. I mean, is there anything else to say, really?
I'm good.
I think
I'll go number 5 to the better quarterback in the division, Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz is number 5.
Carson Wentz is number 5 on my list, yeah.
Listen, we talked about this before the pod, and we kind of went back and forth on it. I could not agree more that Carson Wentz is the more talented quarterback. I couldn't agree more that he deserves to be ahead of Dak.
I think he does way more. Well, I won't even say way more. He does exactly what Dak can do with way worse of a setup.
Yeah.
Way worse of a setup.
Yeah, I think look, I always go back to this, but he had a true MVP caliber season 2 or 3 years ago, the year they went to the Super Bowl without him. He's a baller. He absolutely is. His biggest problem is the same kind of thing that Deshaun Watson does, where he just doesn't give up on a play and gets himself hurt, and he's been hurt a lot recently. If he can clean that up, he has an amazing arm. He is an amazing physical specimen. He's an amazing quarterback. He really is. I think if he can stay healthy and get a couple offensive pieces around him, if his offense can stay healthy at any point, like, people are gonna start turning their heads and realizing, oh yeah, this guy is one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league.
They might go back to what he was the year that he got hurt. I mean, and say that he was one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
I was ready to call him a top 3 quarterback in the league. I was ready. He was doing stuff that I hadn't seen anybody do since Aaron Rodgers.
It was MVP time for him.
Yeah, it really was.
And that leg got hurt.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, continue.
Number 4, Zach Martin.
Baller.
He's a guard. He's right behind Quentin Nelson there. I have a little bit of love to offensive linemen this week just because they are really stacked in this division.
Yeah.
And when it comes to Zach Martin, 1,114 snaps, 0 sacks allowed, only 2 penalties.
Wow.
That you're getting every bit of what you could imagine, especially when it comes to the running game there.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
awesome.
It's incredible. Number 3, and the reason these guys are here, Lane Johnson, 759 offensive snaps, 1 sack allowed. I value tackle more than I value guard.
Yeah.
And that's the way that works for me. I think Lane Johnson can do more on the passing and running. Of course, he's a tackle. That's why he goes there. Than Zach Martin can just on the run front. So, I don't know. I got two big boys up there, though.
But guards do more than tackles.
Guards do more than tackles. But when you build your
That's
team...
That's an inside joke, guys.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Because John has come at me before for...
Well, it was the whole argument we had in Florida that one time.
It was. Would you rather have... It was pretty much, what do you want to build off of?
Yeah, exactly.
Interior or out, or the outer, and I take the out.
We won't bring that to the pod, but I thought that was funny. Sorry, continue.
Number 2, Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, I mean... Honestly, I think there was an argument to put him number 1. I feel like, which
he's got to eat. The reason I have my number 1, it's right here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I can't imagine it's anybody other than him.
It's Saquon. It is the physical ability. It is the talent. And I know last year, so I might get a lot of crap for him kind of tapering off last year. He didn't do as well as he could have.
He was injured. He was injured. He was on a team that had no help around him. Daniel Jones was okay last year, and I think he's gonna be better this year. But I mean, look, his offensive line wasn't good. He got hurt and he was battling injuries, and he still was a dominant player. I mean, he really was.
My list goes into when you ask me who is the best in the NFC East. I guess, it's all opinionated, and there's some stats that back up the guys that I have up there for certain reasons.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, when you think of the NFC East, who is there?
Who are the stars? Yeah.
Who is there? And I forgot Zach Ertz on my honorable mention. I skipped over. I forgot to see that name.
Yep.
Really good. He would have been up there too. I just gave a little bit of love to these big boys just because I don't think they ever get any. and this is one of the best divisions for it.
I'm glad you mentioned him. I was going to give you shit for Zach Ertz not being on there.
I skipped him.
Allow you. Okay, so he was on the list. All right, you just didn't mention
him.
All right, I don't have anything to say. It's great. I love it.
Dak not being up there might catch something for.
Ezekiel Elliott's a baller. Saquon Barkley is just a slightly better baller. Both guys that are top 5 picks in the draft and have just been dominant players on their team since they've entered the league. I love it, man. I think that was a great thing. And if somebody loved Barkley so much that they wanted a jersey, how could they possibly get one?
I think I know a way.
Yeah.
And here we go. We need you right now. If you're watching this still, we hope you are too, or you skipped through the timestamps and you found us here. Saquon Barkley, like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment, I want the jersey, comment. Anything. I mean, just comment. Just let us know that you're there. Yeah, just say
something about the Barkley jersey. Just mention it in some way. Tell us what you thought about the pod. Tell us what you want us to do more of, what you want us to do less of, how we can improve, whatever you like. And mention that you want the jersey. Your name will go into the database of names that we have, and we will announce it when we're ready on the pod. Yeah, guys, we're really excited about that. We're growing.
It is a new jersey with tags. We will free ship it to you. Pretty much you can get this incredible jersey for free.
Yeah.
I just help us grow because we love doing this, and
it's been awesome. We try not to talk about numbers, but we did get over 250 downloads in the past 2 weeks.
We're doing solid now.
So we're really growing. Really appreciate you guys. We really appreciate everyone that supported us from the beginning. Thank you so much. I don't think there's anything else to say.
That's it. We got it.
Peace out, guys.
7.